This is a visualization of the different paths the key figures took during the course of the Great Calamity. It's based on the information provided to us by creating a champion as well as different cutscenes from Breath of the Wild. Over the course of this demonstration, we will pause the narrative at various moments to analyze and cross-reference this information with some of the cutscenes seen in the trailer of the newly announced Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. The goal is to see if this holds up to the pre-existing knowledge of the event, as well as provide possible scenarios for the aforementioned game. So anytime you see this text pop up, we will sketch a possible gameplay scenario and make best guesses on how this might turn out. This is part 1 of a 7-part series which will be published up until the 26th of September, when we are supposedly getting more information about the sequel to Hyrule Warriors. When all parts are released, there will be a full version available with all characters included. The one you are watching right now will focus on Link and Zelda, and I will be joined by none other than NintendoBlackCrisis in this part. He too will be posting his own video which focuses on the lore comparisons between Breath of the Wild and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, as well as story predictions for the game. So be sure to check that one out too. The link will be in the description. A couple of things to note: this series will only cover the events during the Great Calamity itself, from the moment it starts until the moment Zelda seals Ganon inside Hyrule Castle. Any moments before or after are simply too speculative, and we don't have enough information about these events. This includes any monster attacks that may have occurred before Calamity Ganon rose up from the castle. Additionally, we will focus solely on the key players in the story and their actions during the disaster. It will not feature detailed descriptions of battles taking place or the fate of the many towns, villages, and garrisons. With that said, let's get into it.
Despite being dubbed the Day of the Great Calamity, the event itself doesn't actually last throughout the whole day. At sunrise, Zelda travels to the promenade with 4 of the 5 champions accompanying her, as according to Revali's diary, he himself arrived much later. From here, she scales Mount Lanayru to pray at the Spring of Wisdom, with Link watching over her. At sundown, Revali has finally joined the party. Link and Zelda return from the summit and are greeted by the 4 pilots. After some conversation, the earth starts to tremble, and the sky in the distance starts to glow an eerie red color. Revali flies up to see what's happening, and witnesses the ghostly figure that is Calamity Ganon, swirling around above Hyrule Castle. This officially marks the beginning of the Calamity, and this is where our analysis begins. After briefly discussing their strategy, the party splits up into different directions. Link and Zelda traverse the promenade through the canyon and towards Kakariko Village. After crossing the village, they make their way down Sahasra Slope and follow Hylia River past the Lanayru wetlands. They reach Rabone Bridge and cross into central Hyrule, through Mabe Prairie and towards the gates of Hyrule Castletown. By the time they arrive, Hyrule Castle is burning, and the town square is about to be ravaged by guardians. They quickly realize that the castle and town are beyond saving. Creating a champion does not specify how long Link and Zelda lingered on the central square. It's highly likely that Age of Calamity will make this a playable section in which Link and Zelda desperately try to fight off as many enemies as possible. This way they grant some of the soldiers and civilians a chance to escape the city. It's also likely that they will be joined by Impa in this fight, based on this still frame where they are seen in front of the gates of Castletown with Impa at their side.
After realizing the town is lost, the duo is forced to make the difficult decision of leaving their friends and family to their fate and prioritize their own survival. At this point, the Guardians are about to spill out into the green fields of central Hyrule through the main gate, as well as the east and west gate of Castletown, towards the quarry and to Akala Citadel in pursuit of the fleeing population. Link and Zelda make their way to Mabe village and its nearby ranch. As its closest neighbors to Castletown, these are the first 2 settlements to come under siege by the machines. Unlike most regular villages across Hyrule, Mabe village seems to be well defended as seen from this screenshot. The town has a wall and a gate, and from studying the ruins of Mabe village, we can find multiple dead guardians, something that's exceptionally rare to see in the other destroyed villages. It's possible that Age of Calamity will see Link and Zelda take part in the defense of the village for a while before continuing onwards. After crossing Mabe village, the two once again crossed the Mabe prairie. However, unlike the previous route they took when they were on the way to the castle, something interesting happens. Right as they are about to cross the Rebone bridge, they make an abrupt turn and head south along the other side of the Hylia River. This sudden change of direction indicates that the Guardians approaching from the north and northeast forced them to change course. This falls in line with the attack on Guponga village, which is situated in the Leneru wetlands. By the time the duo reaches the bridge, the Guardians which rushed from the east gate had likely already reached the other side of the river, pushing them south. In all likelihood, Link and Zelda originally planned to take the same route they did before, up Sahasra Slope and towards Kakariko village. It's the most logical option for a safe haven, and Impa likely urged Zelda to rendezvous at the village. With their intended escape route now blocked, the two move south, sticking to the riverbank and avoiding major settlements. Their goal is to reach Fort Hateno, the only defensive line on the way to East Necluda. Inside a forest close to the bottomless swamp, Zelda briefly breaks down with Link comforting her. But with no time to lose and Guardians on the way, she regains her footing and they continue to move down Hylia River, across Horwell Bridge and towards the Dueling Peaks. From central Hyrule, an evacuation route has been set up from the Hyrule Exchange all the way to Hateno village. With Guardians still on their tail, Link and Zelda cross the Squabble River and join the evacuation line. Age of Calamity might turn this pursuit into an actual gameplay section, where Link and Zelda may need to stand their ground and hold back the incoming Guardians in order to keep the evacuating citizens safe.
As the two join the tail end of the evacuation line, they cross between the Dueling Peaks and onto Blatcherry Plain. They reach Fort Hateno, and this is where the duo makes their final stand. With the help of the fort's militia, they fend off volley after volley of incoming Guardians. Each wave takes its toll on our hero Link until finally, he can take no more. Obviously, out of all memories in Breath of the Wild, Link's final stand is one of the most iconic moments, and saved for last for a good reason. The defense of Fort Hateno will most likely be made playable as either Link or Zelda, though in this case, Link would definitely be a more fitting choice. After completing this chaotic battle, we will likely transition to the infamous scene. Totally exhausted, the hero is about to make his final sacrifice and fulfill his duty to protect the princess. One of the Guardians detects his presence and is about to extinguish his fire once and for all when Zelda's sacred sealing power springs to life. A blast of energy surges across the fields of Blatcherry Plain, and the Guardians in its vicinity are no more. Despite this victory, for the mortally wounded Link it seems to be too late. He collapses in Zelda's arms, and just as all hope seems lost, Zelda receives a message from within the Master Sword. What words were spoken exactly is unknown, as only Zelda is able to hear the message, but it suggests that Link can still be saved if placed in the Shrine of Resurrection. With Zelda not showing up at Kakariko village according to the plan, the worried Impa has dispatched Sheikah warriors to locate the princess, 2 of which arrive just in time to aid her. She instructs them to take Link back to the Shrine of Resurrection, as she feels his survival is key to the defeat of Calamity Ganon. From this moment, the paths of the hero and princess diverge. As Link is being carried to the Shrine of Resurrection, along with the Sheikah Slate, Zelda takes the heavily damaged Master Sword and makes her way to Kakariko village to discuss a new strategy. She then sets off on a dangerous journey alone towards Hyrule's Great Forest. Once again, she traverses the Sahasra Slope and moves north, this time crossing Thim's Bridge into Tribly Plain, through the Minchi Woods and into the forest. There, she lay the Master Sword to rest at the foot of the Great Deku Tree. After a brief conversation with the Guardian of the Forest, she sets off towards Hyrule Castle, past the military training ground, Roru Settlement, then crosses the Helmhead and Boneyard Bridge and through the East Gate of Castletown. She arrives at her final destination and stands face to face with the Scourge of Hyrule Castle, Calamity Ganon. She raises her hand, and with a bright flash of light, seals herself along with the Demon King inside the castle. Zelda's journey is one of, if not the most important moment which took place during the Calamity. There is a high probability that this section will be playable. Although Zelda's moveset seems to revolve around the use of the Sheikah Slate as seen in the trailer, she will most likely wield her sacred power in this section of the game, perhaps in the form of the Bow of Light, or simply by creating energy blasts to rid her of the enemies standing in her way.
Meanwhile, as Zelda is on her way to Hyrule Castle, Link has arrived at the Great Plateau and is placed inside the Shrine of Resurrection. Additionally, Impa has instructed Purah and Robbie to join them, as their expertise and knowledge of the facility is needed to operate it. Link is laid to rest, and the Sheikah Slate is placed inside a pedestal alongside him, in hopes that it will be of use to him when he finally wakes up. The moment Zelda sealed Ganon inside the castle, the events of the Calamity largely came to a halt. Forced into a dormant state, he loses direct control over the Guardians and Divine Beasts. The beasts shut down and become inactive. As for the Guardians, those who are still operational either retreat back to Hyrule Castle or mindlessly wander the landscape without a clear purpose.